Welcome to Imperfect Mommying. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Mommying, and I have a very special guest today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. For those of you who don't know me, I am Denise Oster, award-winning author of the best-selling book, Inhale Abundance, Exhale Bullshit. I also run a real estate business licensed in Minnesota and Maryland, and I'm the CEO of Denise Oster Coaching, where I help women turn their brilliance and their power into financial wealth.
That's a lot. That's all that's awesome too. And we actually met on Facebook. It's coming back to me now. I've been meeting so many people recently, but we met on Facebook because I think you friended me because we had mutual friends, and you like meeting, like-minded people. And the interesting thing about your message to me was that right now what people are doing on Facebook, especially business owners, is they DM you their pitch, and it's not very attractive to me. It's actually really irritating to me. So I usually don't respond back, but you didn't do that. So I responded.
I know. And I have to tell you that I share that same feeling. There's nothing worse than all of a sudden someone just drops their link or asks you to purchase something. I don't even know who they are, where I met them, or anything. And so I said, that really is not something that sits well with me. I'm making a promise that that's not what I'm doing. If I see someone that I find of interest, or we have something in common, I definitely want to authentically reach out to them and introduce myself and tell them who I am. So there you go. If you ever get a message from me, it's true. I really want to know you. I love learning. So
yeah. Yeah, I had thought about doing it, but I hadn't done it because the only people that were doing it were up until I met you. The only people doing it were people just, DMing their pitches. And I think the first time that became annoying to me was actually when I saw an ad saying, "Stop DMing your pitches."
Actually, I had seen something about that before, so I was kind of like privy to it, and I thought, okay, well, that's really good that didn't happen to me. And maybe I was like, I think I overthought that a little bit, because now, karma just comes at you. So, yep. But there's various messages that will come up, and if someone wants to greet me and say hi, I am more than willing to say hi and get to know you and whatnot. But when you just send me your link and I don't know what you're about and what it's going, especially those Bitcoin ones. Do you get those? I get the Bitcoin ones, and then it's like, well, why aren't you investing? Investing? What are you doing with this? And I'm like, well, hi, can you introduce yourself? Could you tell me who you are? I'd like to get to know you. What you have to offer.
Exactly. So you are an empty nester.
And yes, in the fall, my youngest went off to college, and she did not decide to stay in Minnesota. And so that was really kind of a little bit different for me, especially because we're so close, and I knew it was coming. I always said to my oldest son, my kids are only 15 months apart. But to my oldest son, when he was going off to kindergarten, I said, look at mommy's eyelashes. And I went like this. He's like, Mom, what are you doing? I go, I'm blinking. And he says, why? I go, because when I do this, you'll be all grown up and you'll go off to school. And sure enough, here I am.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
And I reminded him of it. I reminded them of it. And then when my last one decided not to stay local and she decided to go southeast, so far away, it's just not even close to jump in the car to like go see her. I said, wow, you're really going to hit me with the empty nester, right? But you know what? I will have to say, I thought, and don't get me wrong, they did not cut the umbilical cord with my youngest daughter at the hospital. They waited until I said goodbye to her at college. However, it was so much easier to adjust to them not being here and being an empty nester, knowing that I got the phone calls of the excitement and the thrills and the just joy of seeing her thrive and being so independent. And the only thing I could think of is, I always wonder if I gave her wings that were going to be flying or if they were going to be broken. And it was just so reassuring. I'm enjoying empty nester now. Like I said, it's not what I thought. I really thought that it was going to be hard. And you hear all these stories about, oh my gosh, it's this and I'm sad and I can't adjust my life or whatever. I kept thriving. And just because I saw the joy in their lives, I saw what they were accomplishing. I saw the ambition in their eyes and opportunities that opened up and presented themselves. And I just look forward to that call every day and going, oh yeah, what's next? What's next? So
Yeah.
So I am enjoying it. The only thing is I want to move out of the state to a warmer weather. That's it.
And now I think you have more of the freedom to do that, right?
I do. I do have a little bit more freedom, and especially being in coaching. My real estate business, like I said, that one would be a little bit more difficult, but we are virtual. We're a worldwide company that I work with and stuff. So referrals and stuff, I can still do that business, but especially my coaching, that's really nice because I like to move around. Sometimes I like to sit outside and, feel the breeze or the sunshine and, kind of just take it all in and enjoy it.
Yeah. I think if I
was... You can't do that in minus 54 below zero.
No, you really can't. My friend complains about Minnesota all the time. So yeah. I don't even know if I want to go visit anymore.
Yeah. It used to be I grew up in Four Seasons. I'm not quite differentiating which one is which. Right. It's either polar vortex winter or summer now. There is like no in between.
Yeah. She's super annoyed that she was wearing a jacket even in June. And
you know what? That's not actually, it's not, I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny. But we did have some really, really bizarre weather, just even in the fall. So in October, it started to get really cold and the poor trick-or-treaters are coming all bundled up with their winter coats on and they're freezing. And then all of a sudden in November, we got 70-degree weather, like for 2 days. It was crazy. And then we went into the deep, deep cold, the polar vortex. Yeah. And then we did have some April, at the end of April, beginning of May, we started to have some really, really chilly temperatures. It warmed up for a week. And yes, then she probably put her jacket on at the beginning of June. That's terrible. Yeah. To me, that should be summer.
It should. I mean, in California, it's like it can get up to 100 degrees in April. So, we also don't have two seasons. We have hot and then we have slightly less hot. And
hot or hotter?
And I mean, occasionally it rains, but it's not, we don't have the four seasons. We might get a week of fall and a week of spring, and that's about it. But this year hasn't been too bad. It was over 100 last week, and then today it's in the 70s. So
and that's perfect and beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
I'll take it any day.
Right. So my son's only 9, which most of our listeners know, but I have a theory about empty nest. And I think that it's because it's moms who are super wrapped up in their kids where they don't have anything outside of the kids. Like they have their job maybe that's not super inspirational. Fulfilling. There you go. That was the word I was looking for. It's not super fulfilling. And so they really have only their kids, and then their kids leave. And then it's like, well, what am I doing with my life? And I would imagine that even, stay-at-home moms have it worse because they don't even have like the unfulfilling job as a distraction.
Right.
It's just their home. But like I said, I'm not an empty nester, so I can't really, that's just my theory.
Well, to some degree, I think it could be true for majority of the people. I mean, I wouldn't put a percentage on it. It's how women, if you're speaking just women, I don't know if you're speaking men empty nesters, but from what I've seen and like in my parent education years, have seen is that they attach their identity to that.
Yeah.
And when you attach your identity to that, that's something that you're projecting your future self. Well, if your future self has been this mom for 20 years, because then, when you're 9 years old, your future is still with children, correct?
Yeah.
And there's nothing beyond that. It's not really our personality for the mere fact that personality isn't permanent, but more so our identity.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't really attach to that for the mere fact that there was so much that I was involved in, in my children's life, but also within my work and then my social activity or my social life. And it's really important to have a balance for that. And even more so, what I started working on the closer time it was to say goodbye to them and to leave was giving them that independence a year or two before. So I would just be in the backdrop, but then watch them do it as I transitioned as well to be able to come and go and do my thing and enjoy life. And, they watched it and said, you know what, I got to step up. Mom's got a business trip or mom's going on, I got to step up and, be responsible. And there's a big transition for those kids at that time too. But they're, you're once a parent, always a parent. You're always there for them to fall back on. And that helped me feel a little bit better. But what I did for myself is it was almost like a rejuvenation. It was a new time for me to discover my own inner truths and and really work on the self-care and the self-love, because we guilt ourselves as moms so often with the guilt and the shame that they need us, they're dependent on us, they're reliant, maintaining the schedule, making meals, cleaning up, taking to the activities, and, having a really good, healthy dynamic in the infrastructure of your family and being able to project out in terms of, okay, when 18 comes, this is the time where, you need to make your own dentist appointments or your own doctor's appointments. And I'll show you how, and I'll be right by your side when, they answer the phone and they ask certain questions in case you can't answer it. And so therefore, when that comes time where you have an emergency or you have an illness and I'm not around, you know how to take care of yourself. It's just those simple things. You don't think about it.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, he was my first life coach. And I talk about him quite a bit on the podcast, Sean Smith, but he's going to be a guest one of these days. He has a book coming out called Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? And it's written for, it's so, and I got a sneak peek of it, and it's written for the father-daughter relationship. And it had this side effect of healing women who didn't have that relationship with their father that they wanted. And so in the book, I think is where I heard him say it. I listened to a lot of his stuff, so I don't always remember where I hear stuff from, but he said the first 10 years of your child's life is to teach them how to live with you. And the next 10 years of their life is teaching them to live without you. And it really is about, giving them the tools that they need to make it on their own.
Yeah.
And, and I will often talk to my son about someday he's going to hate me.
We go through different phases.
Yeah. And it makes him sad. And he's like, I will never hate you, Mom. And I'm like, I want to have that in writing. I mean, maybe he won't, but
Well, it's funny. In my book, I talk about just a short little clips about when you get to the teenage years, I say it's like hugging a cactus. You
Mm,
get pricked every once in a while. It's
yeah.
unconditional love. It's beautiful plant, but every once in a while, you get pricked. And then you go into the dumb phase. I'm in the dumb phase right now. After they get out of college, I get my smarts back.
Oh, okay.
That's probably the phase that he was talking to you about where he'd hate you. But I haven't really had any, hatred or anything. I've had a really good relationship with my kids and really close. So, well, after I divorced their dad, my kids were very young, 3 and 4 years old. So I was a single mom with my two kids for, 10, 11 years before I got married again. And, at that point, it was really, they were so involved in their activities and everything that, they knew the routine that I had with them and that I needed to maintain to get both kids to their sports and, do everything. And then as they got a little bit older in that teenage year, that's where friends become really, really important and they don't need you as much kind of thing. So I was the observant parent, to make sure that, we had, you make sure they have the morals and the values and the respect and the kindness and, you have it all together. And, if it's going to act out anywhere, I'd rather you do it at home than out in public and that kind of thing. And I didn't really have, I was just so blessed that I didn't have a lot of that. I mean, kids go through a lot. I mean, finding them their own selves, transitioning into school, homework, bullying, everything, there's just so much of social media. There's so much out there for them to take in nowadays. And, with the human design and the human development information that they have out here, there's no greater time for them to keep learning and understand themselves better so they can do more and be more now. And that wasn't prevalent when I was growing up. And, you didn't get a manual when you became a parent. So it was all trial and error. And I'm just very blessed that we just stayed really in tune to my parents or into my parenting and really gave them that feeling of significance and belonging and allowed them to ask the questions so we could look at an opportunity while it presented itself. And I say that as a matter of, it's my normal language, but let me explain what I'm saying. My kids would say, "Oh, Mom, there's a problem, or I have a problem." And my response naturally to them, seeing that I've been coaching for so long, as a kid and as a parent educator for so long, I would always say, "Never a problem, always an opportunity." So what is it? So we would look at the opportunity and then go, okay, so this is what happened. What did we learn out of it, right?
Yeah.
It just became so instinctual that I will walk up the stairs and then my kids would go, "Oh, never a problem, always an opportunity," because teenage years, right? And you're the dumb mom,
Right.
but they got to a point where they automatically knew how to answer it.
It's really fun being a coach and a parent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've been told, don't get me wrong, now that they're adults, I've been told you can put that coaching away. It's not working on me. And I said, you know what? That means that you're not coachable because I don't change anybody. You can only change yourself. I can only give you the information to push you along for transformation. If you're choosing it, you're choosing it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I can't think of any clear examples at the moment of my son imitating me. I guess I remember some like some Facebook quotes that like memories that of things that he's said where he'll say something like he's really, really frustrated with a video game he's playing and he's building something. And I hear him say, "You can do it, Sandra, you can do it." Like he's giving himself
awesome
pep talks and stuff. It's so much fun to hear him repeat the stuff that I say that yeah,
you don't think that they're listening to you. They will tune you out, but they're going to watch your behavior.
Yes,
They're going to watch your behavior.
All about this podcast. That's like the premise of the podcast.
Absolutely.
Watching you.
110%. And if anybody is listening to this podcast and thinks that isn't true, I'm telling you, I have now sent my kids off. They have come home from school for the summer. And the greatest reward is to walk into your child's bedroom and go, Mom, where have you been? I've missed you. I don't get to spend much time with you. And I never, as I sent them off, I never dreamed about the fact that what happened in their childhood and how they were raised and what was going on in their life, if they were able to focus on the inner dynamics of a family and also keep up social and school and everything, that would be so important and prevalent in their life at this given time. I really didn't, but all of a sudden you come home and okay, she's an adult. She doesn't have to give me her schedule. She doesn't have to tell me where she's going. And you just walk into the room and it's like I'm the one that was being the teenager. Where were you? Kind of thing, I missed you. And it's just like, that is so nice. That is just, that just fills my heart because, I do miss her when she's gone, but I know she's doing well. And then to hear that, I know that I tell her all the time, I probably wasn't the perfect mom. I probably made tons of mistakes, but I tried to do the best that I could do at the time and be. And then when you mention that to them and you're not justifying your behavior, you're just letting them know it wasn't easy and you're vulnerable with that as an adult, that's the kind of response I get. So it's so nice.
Well, and I'm going to give an example of, that they're watching what we do. My mother-in-law said to me one time, she's actually my ex-mother-in-law, but we have a good relationship still. And she said to me once, I know what you do because Xander does it when he's here. And I'm like, oh, that's awful. What is he doing? And it wasn't until he came home and after she had said that I started noticing like his shoes would be in the living room and he's probably and it would irritate me so much that his shoes are in the living room. And then I looked around and my shoes are in the living room. I probably have 3 pairs of shoes in the living room. And my boyfriend probably has a pair or 2 of the shoes in the living room. And so I started making a conscious change to put my shoes away. And now my son takes his shoes off and he goes, don't worry, Mom, I'll put them away. And he goes to his bedroom and puts them away. And it's like,
that's
I never once
fantastic.
like yelled at him about it. I've asked him, hey, go put your shoes away. Hey, go put your shoes away, but it was never something that would warrant like, don't worry, Mom, I'm going to do it. It's just like I
Yes,
started doing it and asked him to do it. And he's watching, they watch what we do more than they listen to the lecture.
they absolutely do.
Yeah.
They know when you're present, they know when you're absent, and they know when you're physically in tune and present to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I mean present, you can be in a room, but not really thinking and in line with their speaking and their hearing and their feeling. But I'm talking 100% undivided attention present in their life, and they know it. They feel it. Everything we do for life is feeling. Bottom line comes down to a feeling. And, to give that child that feeling of love, reassurance, hope, and everything, it just makes it so much easier. And everybody, the transition for me, the transition for them, just for them to want you there, it's just really, really nice.
So I want to hear about your book a little bit. I think the title is brilliant. It it makes me laugh so much.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about it.
So my book was published at the end of December 2020. It is Inhale Abundance, Exhale Bullshit. It is helping women amplify their life with excitement to discover their inner truths, because I believe that high achieving women really want to become that leader in their industry. And I help them so they don't have to step in their own way. They can actually step out of their way and use their brilliance and their power to get that financial wealth.
That's exciting. I just heard somebody say on a podcast today that by 2030 that more women are going to be millionaires than men, and I like verbally, no, obviously nobody could hear me, but I verbally went, "Pff," and I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Like, and I have an irritation around pitting the genders against one another. Like, I don't like the competition between men and women. I don't like especially on social media, you see, men posting things like a real mom doesn't, pay attention to who the real moms are. They don't have their hair done, they don't have their nails done, and they're like, their priorities are right. And it's like, excuse you, like that guy got a blog written about him.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Because let me tell you, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I had been a single mom for 10 years. Well, no, I was in the corporate world for 10 years, had quit, had 7 years of infertility, had my kids, and staying home with them for the first few years until I got divorced. And then I went back to teach while they were in school because daycare was so expensive. And that's when I started my coaching, doing it before and afterwards when they were 3 or 4. So, it's been quite some time. But the dynamics were so different too, in terms of, the positions, the jobs, how women, perceive themselves. And the hardest job I ever done, being a parent, hands down.
Yeah.
And it's the most rewarding and the least paid, right? Because we don't get paid for it, but I would never want a dime I wouldn't ever want to be paid for that because it's just so rich and rewarding and priceless and love in the moments that you had. But with that being said, I do see a lot more with our society and our economy changing, where more women need that for financial support. I mean, financial support for their well-being, for, the identity. There's so many different components that go in it. I just have a real hard time with women being jealous about other women who succeed. It just really irritates me.
Right.
Irritates me. And I have a potty mouth when it comes to explaining that, because my mission, my biggest joy and excitement, I want every single person, every single woman to succeed.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't believe in yourself, I believe in you more than because I believe you have it in them to be able to use that gift to share with humanity, to be able to bring that out, and make the uncomfortable the new norm.
Right.
And that's my mission. I just love it. And that's how we empower one another too. And what they don't understand too is when you make someone else successful, you become successful for the richness and the rewardingness and, everything that goes in it. Right. So that's my mission. And that's how I came up with this book, Inhale Abundance, Exhale Bullshit, to discover your inner truths. Because if you know who you are confidently, so much that you have enough self-worth that you can then add tax to any purchase or any assignment or anything, and you can stand in your power to be able to do that, therefore you have success. Wealth then comes with it, because when you're happy in the inside, it exudes to the outside. Most people come to me with coaching and they want business strategies, business helps, amplifying different things that go along with their goals that might cross over. And 95% of the time, it's all about mindset. And when they feel good inside, the outside just shines too.
100%.
Yeah.
What advice do you want to give our mom listeners?
Cherish the moments. They grow up way too fast.
Yeah.
They just really do. And when you're ever in doubt, be vulnerable with your kids and just hug them and tell them how much you love them, because it definitely is reciprocated. As an empty nester, I just got done explaining my story. You go through these little phases I tease you about. Don't worry if you feel like, you've got the cactus in the house and you're getting pricked. It's a learning phase in development, and it's developmentally appropriate for them to try to figure it out themselves, to know who they are. And when you give them that solid foundation of belongingness and significance, you give them the tool sets or skill sets to be able to move forward in life and know that I will be okay. I will definitely be okay. Yeah. And have the kids ask questions so they form it in a way where you're coming from a point of more curiosity and learning instead of more of the direction, firmness, because that's when some kids kind of rebel, depending on their personality.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, you know your kid best.
Right.
You know your kid best. Don't overindulge in it. Definitely don't overindulge. Entitlement is a terrible thing right now with these kids in social media.
Yeah.
So, and it's now coming out. I mean, my kids are seeing it in terms of it, and they're saying, Mom, I'm really glad that you made me work for something and you negotiated with us that, I have to pay half of whatever because it shows me how to appreciate things more. And then also work harder because I'm that much closer to getting to be that millionaire or whatever, I dreamed of, because I have skin in the game.
Right.
I have some skin in the game.
What's really funny about your kids thanking you is that we just had a conversation with Xander about how every kid thinks that their mom and dad are being mean. And then around, late teens and early 20s, they come back to their parents and say, thank you for doing XYZ. I learned so much, like that was so helpful. And I learned so much from that.
It's super important. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because my daughter has come to me too. And she said, when you go off to college, you have to have a roommate. You don't know how that they were raised. You don't know what their family morals and values are. And you just hope to God that you blend and that you can make the sacrifices and the changes and get along with them. And a lot of kids can't because of the home environment and how they were raised and what they do. And what she's noticed is that it really comes down to a lot of what I taught her. You may not like me at this moment, but you may not be mean to anyone ever. And what those kids are really seeking is they're really seeking discipline, but they don't know how to identify that or communicate it because of the stage and age of development that they're going through. And when they get to be older and go off to college, they're like, dang, I'm not going to tell my mom that, but I'm so appreciative of that discipline that she put down. Right. They're screaming inside for that discipline, but they don't know how to articulate it and communicate for it.
Right. And so the house that I live in is located on a farm, and so we rent the farmhouse of a farm, and there are plants all around the house. And on the side of the house, there's about 4 or 5 pots of cactus.
Oh,
cacti. Yeah. I don't know if that's more grammatically correct. And so what I didn't know about cacti, is that they have flowers in them that bloom like once a year. And so when you're
when your kids get to be teenagers, you're going to go out there and label them. Okay, that kid, that kid, that kid.
So when you're talking about the prickly teenager, the prickly cactus teenager, I'm like, and they're still like, it still blooms. Like,
yes, and there's a flower inside of every child, and they want to bloom. They just kind of have pricks every once in a while.
So, is there a book, a personal development book that was especially impactful for you?
There's so many that I read with, being a business entrepreneur. I usually have 3 books going at one time. And Mel Robbins has always got a really good one. What's the one she does about the clock? I can't even think of the name of it. So
5 seconds. Is it the 5-second rule or something like that?
That one, but there was one before it about unlock yourself or something like that. I can't think of it. I'll have to think of it. I've read it so long ago, but I know everything in it. So it's like crazy. The Atomic Habits were really, really good. And then I'm in the middle of reading the Sell It Like Sharonka. So there, I got business in there, and I got learning development, and there's just so many. But yeah, I love reading. I love listening to audibles. Depending on where I am, usually I actually like to have it in my hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are three that I really, really like. One's more business, one's about personal and the habits, and then one's more about you and the life that you went through. So just kind of a combination, kind of a well balanced. But
Yeah.
there's so many of them. Like, I'm going to get off this podcast and go, oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is another one of my favorites. This is another one of my favorites.
I know.
They're all stacked up.
I threw that at you, so you didn't have a minute to think about it. But
Ooh,
I watched Mel Robbins the first time when someone was doing a book launch on Facebook, and Mel Robbins I guess a friend of hers, and was helping her
yeah.
launch the book, and she's the highest paying female speaker. And I was going to say earlier, like, if I could manifest my most exciting life and dream, it would be to travel the world as a speaker. And like, that's
Well, you
all.
can.
Yeah. And the podcast is a stepping stone to that.
That's awesome.
Coaching is a stepping stone to that. And so,
Exactly.
and
I
yeah.
see myself in the same way, and I find myself gravitating towards the things that I am and that I want to become,
Mhm.
for not only, mindset, but also because I teach a lot of it. It's not so much mindset, it's the mind shift, because we're changing the habits
Mhm.
that we have,
Yeah.
and they have to become a behavioral pattern.
Mhm.
So when I'm always reading, I'm always looking from within on myself. How does this affect me? How have I handled it? What were the best techniques? Because it doesn't always work for someone else. And that's why, like, when I coach individually, it's always custom to where they're at. I meet them where they're at. And that's why it's nice with a variety of books, because you can see yourself in different phases and stages
Yeah.
of your life in certain situations that other people have went through, because it resonates.
Right.
For me, why I switched to women too is because when this came out and became a #1 bestseller, I would have people send me a picture and say, "Hey, it came in the mail," and then they had stickies all the way down, and it was like you could just pull the tab, and they're like, "Oh, it's just like me coming out. Like, I thought you were in my forehead." It was just like you speaking, and I thought, "Well, is this me?" So I was like, when you can resonate like that, that's what I want. I want to make that personal connection, to make them feel like they're having a conversation with me,
Yeah.
because I love getting to know people, like at the beginning of the conversation. And I don't just want to know someone, I genuinely care, because I want to know about you, because we learn from other people.
Mhm.
And that's where I want to help empower these women to be able to be so successful, because when you do learn about other people, you can leverage your weaknesses and your strengths to be a great attribute that is in collaboration with the high achieving women of
Yeah.
where you want to be.
Mhm.
The next thing I'll see is I'll see you on stage, and then you can come over to mine.
Right. Right now you're on my platform, and in a week or two I'm going to be on yours, because
That's right, which I'm super excited.
what is that? I'm excited too, but what is that phrase where the rising tides raises boats together? Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. They feed off one another.
they do. And I mentioned that phrase quite a lot, and I don't know how it goes. But it's something about boats
You
rising
know the meaning behind
together.
it.
I do. But yeah, I just, the competition between women is a lack mentality. Like, if you have something,
100%.
you're taking that from me, and it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's not a piece of the pie. There's not one pie and everybody gets a little sliver, and one person gets 75% of it, and everybody else gets make your own pie. Like,
I couldn't agree with you more. And the reality is, what they need to understand, and where I help them with this, and it doesn't come out exactly that, but through other things, is that you're only in competition with yourself.
yeah.
That's why I help you step out of your own way, because the only person you're competing with is yourself.
Yeah.
But they have all these other reasons why, which are why I help them debunk their bullshit, barriers, and beliefs.
Yeah.
Because when you understand that that came from something that you were taught to believe, you will realize no one gets in your way except for yourself.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast today and just pouring into our listeners, and into me, because I forget that we're recording, and I just listen and have the conversation. But I appreciate you being here, and I'm excited to read your book.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate you inviting me to be on here. And I got so excited. I'm like, I have to reciprocate this, because this is dynamic.
Yeah.
There's so much that we can learn from each other and add value to help other people too. So I truly thank you very, very much. I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So we will be back next week with another podcast episode. And until then, keep healing. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Mommying. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.